Hey there, fellow bike geeks. I know everyone missed out on the 2020 Olympic bike checks. Who knows if we're going to see them in 2021. So I'm here to fill the gap. I actually have my 3 Olympic bikes stashed up in my family cabin on Hornby Island. Thought it'd be fun to pull them down from the rafters and take a closer look. In my career, I ended up going to 3 Olympics: 2000 Sydney, 2008 in Beijing, and 2012 in London. The internet was barely going in 2000, so not a lot of people have seen some of these bikes. So that'd be fun to take a look and see how the technology has evolved over the last 20 years. All my bikes are hardtails, but it's really been quite an evolution in the details over the years. The cockpit size, the drivetrain especially, the wheel sizes, but I think the biggest thing in my career was probably the tire technology. So let's get in the Wayback Machine and check out my bike from 2000 Sydney. I actually started my career on Kona, got my first real pro contract after my breakthrough result in Sydney. I qualified for the games and was probably the most stressful race of my career, a winner-take-all race at Canadian Nationals. Sydney finished a bit of a surprise, 9th place, real career breakout. My 2000 Olympic bike from Kona was a custom scandium frame with a nice red, white, and black flame job. Still got the external cables, external headset, external BB on the old metal frame. 26-inch wheels, of course, with the old XDR hubs, and still running the QRs. You can see the fork and frame is set up for disc brakes, but the technology wasn't quite there for racing. Tire technology has been one of the major developments over the years as well. These old Tioga semi-slicks I used to run with latex tubes, a little lighter weight. But man, I used to run these at 52, 55 PSI. I remember several times dropping my pressures into the 40 PSI, but flatted and just didn't want to risk it anymore, so it was always back up to the 50s. Shimano drivetrains on all my bikes, and it's interesting to watch the evolution. 3x on this one with the 48, 34, 22, with the tiny looking 11, 34. Of course, it's 9-speed back in the day, and we went 10, 11, and now 12. Shimano V-brakes. These are actually a huge upgrade from the old caliper brakes, but biggest thing I can remember is riding in the winter in Canada. One ride and these brake pads would be shredded. This matte finish on the Shimano XTR was probably one of my favorite. I was an early adopter of the riser bar and considered a 640mm bar on this bike pretty wide back in the day, but even funnier is to see the 130mm stem. Old Marzocchi bomber fork there, 80 mils of travel in 2000 for the Olympics in Wollongong. I accidentally hucked a flat and wrecked a fork, so I was lucky to have a spare down there. Overall weight of the Kona, tough to say. My parents only had an old analog scale at the cabin, but my best guess is around 24 pounds for this sucker. Fast forward 2008 Beijing. This was really the kind of heart of my career where I was really having a lot of success internationally. After riding for Kona for 7 years, I switched to the Factory Maxxis team for the next 7. Rode a couple different brands of bikes, but 2008 it was Lightspeed. 2008 result was super frustrating after getting the whole shot. Had a couple mechanicals and only managed a 21st place finish. I did get a little redemption later. My Olympic moment came in the closing ceremonies. I had a shotgun contest with Yao Ming. Lightspeed from 2008, still something special about titanium, and this is still a pretty sexy bike. Crazy amount of steps and details going into forming the titanium. No paint, but we customized the bike for Olympics with red and white parts for Canada, saddle, McGurr brakes, decals, cables. Decal restrictions at Olympics, which have eased since, were pretty strict. You could only have one brand decal on the parts. See the Fox on only one side of the fork. Even on our helmets, we could only have one logo. Fox has a remote now, 100mm fork, still quick releases, titanium of course. First Fox Cobalt prototype would come in the next year or two. Still on 26-inch wheels in 2008, wouldn't switch until 2012. Riser bar again, that's now 670 on this bike with only 120mm stem. You can see a bike computer on there, no idea what GPS was at this point. A few more carbon accessories now with the bar, brake levers, seat posts, saddle rails, etc. Drivetrain, Shimano XTR again. Still have that front derailleur, but I've gone from 3x to 2x. Running a 44-32 chainrings up front with a little bit bigger, but still tiny 1136 XTR cassette. The wheels were the Stan's Olympic ZTR race wheel set, which I used most of my career. Even had the red nipples on there to match. Tubeless systems were getting better, but still not perfect. I remember still struggling to seal these tires without the tubeless ready standard beads. Olympic course in Beijing was first of one of the more manufactured courses, pretty smooth. So I decided to run the super slick max lights, probably down 23-24 psi at this point. Other bits and pieces on the bike included the usual tie king cage, egg beater pedals, tie bolts, some ceramic bearings in there. You can still see a bit of Beijing dirt on my bike because I shipped it home and never cleaned it up after the race. Remember it being sub 20, and best guess is somewhere in that 19-pound range on this one. 2012 London, last Olympic Games, a little special for me. I actually kind of started riding off-road as a 12-year-old in England. My parents did a teacher exchange to the southwest of England. Used to ride my 10-speed to the hills, obviously get a bunch of flat tires. Turned to Canada next year, got my first mountain bike. 2012, London actually had one of my best rides of the summer. Still super proud of my 8th place at London. Still stands up as the best North American finish to date. Custom Scottscale hardtail. Maybe one of the most understated Olympic bikes, but some beautiful custom inlays on the frame depicting all the major British symbols. Full Shimano XTR Gruppo with some tie bolt upgrades, ceramic bearings. Running 1x finally, with a 34 by 1136. Finally made the switch to 1x in 2009, and fun fact is I was actually the first World Cup XC winner with 1x in Bromont. There I ran 32 by 1136. XTR clutch rear derailleur finally makes an appearance in 2012. Battery on the bike with the Fox IRD remote fork lockout. Love this system, but unfortunately not enough consumer demand for it. Still 100mm travel on the fork. Finally a bolt in action. Weird to see it on almost every fork now, but pretty cool to have my signature on that. Still rear quick release on this frame. Frames are still transitioning in this period to through axles front and rear. My riser bar up to 720mm wide now with the 100mm stem. Most parts and components on this one were from the legendary Canadian brand Synchros, which was bought by Scott and rejuvenated around 2012. 29-inch wheels finally in 2012. Equipment had evolved to make them light enough now and competitive. Have the Synchros wheels still on the bike, but undercover I actually raced the Stan's wheels again. The Stan's wheels were still by far the lightest, functional, and best option to race regardless who you're sponsored by. Have the Maxxis icons on the bike, but on my race wheel set I ran the Aspens. Tubeless ready bead was definitely improving, but it was still a struggle on some wheel manufacturers to get them to seal. Down to 21-22 psi in London, which helped on the manufactured course with the gravel pathways. Definitely slippery in places. Best guess on this one, the weight was pretty similar to the Lightspeed in the 19-pound range. So those are my 3 Olympic bikes. Hope you enjoyed the details. Haven't actually ridden a hardtail for several years now, but I'm pretty excited this year. I got the new Yeti ARC. Definitely be a little bit different spec to my Olympic bike. Some updated geometry on this. I'll be running the 130 Fox 34. I'm all the way up to 760mm bar with the 45mm stem. Now with the new XTR, probably 34 with the 1051 cassette. Dropper post, of course, internal cable routing, new tires and cush core. I'll be down 18-19 psi. Hopefully do a little bike check on this thing when I get it all polished up. Fun for me to look at these bikes. Hope you enjoyed it too, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments. Keep on riding until the fun stops. Cheers.